This podcast has been made possible by the team at BOYLE Sports.
I'm Mick McCarthy.
And I'm Tony Pulis.
And welcome to the Managers.
He said, I've got Brian on the phone. And he comes on the phone, do you want to play for me, son? I went, yeah, all right. And he slammed the phone down. Now I'm getting picked to play for England. And one of the kids come down the dressing room and said, the boss wants to see you. He sat me down and went, said, do you think you're good enough? I said, I'm not sure. He went, I don't, F off. The FA should have said, Bobby, we want you to be head of teams. They should have done exactly the same with Gareth Southgate as well. You've got to keep individuals like that in the game instead of saying, thank you for what you've done, off you go. My ego is irrelevant to the situation I was doing. But what I did, I made a lot of people's lives a lot happier at that football club.
So back yourself with BOYLE Sports, the home of the early payout.
18 plus applies to bets placed on match betting.
T's and C's apply. And our guest this week has worked with some of the most iconic managers in the history of the game before going on to become a manager himself. He's one of England's greatest ever players. Welcome to the Managers, Stuart Pearce.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here on your debuts, and I'm making mine.
So what did you say about being a player and two managers are making the debuts?
Yeah, I've never done that before. I've done quite a few things in the game, but to make my debut on the show and to have two managers making their debut at the same time is unique.
Well, how did you do on your debut as a player?
Done okay. Yeah. We won 1-0.
Well, we're looking here. You played 176 games. How you started at non-league level before making the move to Coventry at the age of 21. And it was Bobby Gould who spotted you. Were you aware of him? Being there, watching you?
We were about to go out. We're in the tunnel at Yeovil. Wealdstone were playing at Yeovil on a Tuesday night, and we're in the tunnel, and one of our centre halves who'd playing for us turned round, tapped me on the shoulder and went, Coventry are here to watch you tonight. I didn't really think much of it, weren't sure. And literally, Gouldy turned up. Gouldy's words, this is, he said, I watched 40 minutes of you. You launched the winger into the stand. He's landed on Margie's lap. He's took Margie's wife with him for a night out. He said, we've ushered him back on the pitch. He said, I said to Marge after 40 minutes, got a left back. So they left on 40 minutes, signed me. I said goodbye to everyone at the council on the Friday from the Tuesday, resigned from the council because I was working as an electrician. On the Monday, I went up to Coventry to negotiate my contract, and he offered me a £30 wage cut to turn pro. I was earning more as an electrician and a part-timer. Yeah. And all of a sudden, 3 games in, we're playing Liverpool at home, and I'm doing that with a £30 wage cut.
For less money?
For less money.
Before that happened, Stu, what actually put that fire in your belly? What do you think? You look back from the real early days when you're playing on the streets and you're with people from that area and that, that community.
Yeah. What I would say, Tone, I think I'm the same person now as I was when I was an electrician, as I was as a kid. I don't think I've been changed by any of the experiences I've had on this journey I've been on. Humility's been a big thing for me. My parents were solid as a rock, as two parents can be. And my elder brother as well was a Football League linesman, so he had a connection. In fact, he ran the line of a League Cup game that I played for Forest once, which is...
Did anybody know?
No, literally, apart from the officials, knew that I wasn't a pro.
And the opposite team was on the line, putting his flag up and they weren't offside.
He would go the other way, to be fair to him. But yeah, they were great influences on me.
So we're just starting off now with management and finding out what actually makes good managers and everything else. How has life changed in respect of what you just said? Humility, discipline, respect, the things that have really been born in, I think, the three of us, really, from our parents and our upbringing. How have you seen a change over the past years?
I tell you a big one for me as well. I suffered a fair bit of adversity as a kid. Not bad adversity. I was at QPR as a 13-year-old, then got released after 6 months.
Which is, for everybody, it is devastating, isn't it, for the kids when you get released?
When you're that age it is, and you've got a dream of being the next Jerry Francis or whatever as it was in my day. And then at 16 years old, I want to join the Met Police or the Army and go for both interviews and fail both interviews. So I get a job in a warehouse for a year. So all of a sudden you've had a couple of knockbacks in your life, and it's how you handle that a lot, A lot of the managers, I always think when I look at managers, especially, two of your ilk, you've got to be prepared to handle the adversity. You've got to be prepared to laugh at yourself on occasion, and you've got to be prepared to come out at the other end of it. And I always felt as though in whatever room that I'm in, I've probably got the strongest mentality in that room.
Yeah.
So you've got to sort of show that inner strength in front of a squad of players, but maybe in front of people that actually pay your wages, a boardroom in many ways.
You ever looked at players and gone, he'll make a manager, him, or I fancy him, he could be a manager. And then you'd see others. Man, I've seen others and I thought wouldn't. And they've turned completely. They're different from being so not bothered about anything and then becoming really strict and really tough as managers. But, so you had Gouldy.
Yeah.
Two good stories about Gouldy at Coventry.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, he was just brilliant. I remember when we first turned up, I mean, the first day, obviously, negotiating a contract on the Monday, which I alluded to, he said, what you on? I said, 280 quid a week as a Sparks and just qualified as electrician, and I'm on 60 quid as a part-time footballer. And he went, 280 quid? I said, yeah. He said, I'll give you 250 or there's the door. And at that stage, 3 days later, I'd had me farewell party at Brent Council, so I could hardly walk back through the door and couldn't agree a contract at Coventry, the top division in the country. And there was one with Bobby. Radi Abramovich was playing in goal for Coventry, and he had a stinker in a game. We lost 3-2 at home to Stoke City, and we were always at the bottom of the league, fighting relegation for the 2 years that I was there. And he dropped a couple in. He had a bad game. Good man, Raddy. And Bobby walked into the dressing room and went, "You'll never play for this club again." And I'd never. I thought, wow, that's powerful.
I heard that as a kid, though. I have to be honest.
Did you?
I did. Yeah.
So maybe it was commonplace around then. And Raddy literally never played for the club again. He put Perry Suckling in goal that wasn't ready at the time. Raddy played in the reserves for the remainder of the season, and every time he caught the ball, he drop-kicked it straight at Gould. He sat in the stand. It was incredible. Well, I used to go and watch the reserves, and this ball kept peppering me because I was sat near Gouldy. It was every time he caught it, he just drop-kicked it straight at Gouldy.
What did you think of Bob as a person?
Listen, he took me out of non-league and took me into the game. It was brilliant. I remember one of the first training sessions we had at Coventry. I mean, you can imagine, I've come from electrician, council worker, and I've stepped up, and there was some experience in our dressing room, the likes of Bob Latchford was there, Kenny Hibbett was there, some really good players and good individuals around the place. And Gouldy, in one of the first, I remember it like it was yesterday, in one of the first training sessions, he said, "Run the winger away." I didn't know what he meant, so I run back towards our own goal, and he absolutely laid me out. When you get vilified in front of your teammates and you're wet behind the ears. I'm 21 years old, and
so Bobby Gould was a good foundation for what was coming next. Then I guess, was it? I mean, you've gone from, but managing them was different anyway. What people used to say to you. I said I got told that I'm playing for Barnsley. And I gave a penalty away, and I'm in the dressing room. "You'll never play for this club again."
Oh, you've had that.
And I thought,
well,
I think we all have.
And I wanted to have a snarl at Jim Hiley, it was. And I went to have a go at him. And the two of the lads, the older pros, got hold of me. We were going in the bath. They dragged me, put me in the bath, and sat on me and wouldn't let me because I was snarling like a dog. Because he'd really belittled me. Thank goodness for them, because I may well have been in serious trouble. I was going for it,
I think you made a really good point there. I think back in the day, and I can look back in all the dressing rooms I've been
older
in.
players looked after
older players that were schoolmasters that probably told you how to conduct yourself before the manager or the coaching staff needed to,
Yeah, I think if you don't have that, if you don't, and even to today, if you haven't got a good base, a solid base of players in the dressing room, the dressing room go either way.
Yeah.
And it's always been massive for me to do that.
It was a good foundation anyway for what came next, was it, with Sir Brian?
When I look back now, Mick, I've got to say I'm glad I went to Coventry before I went straight to Cloughie. I've got to say. I mean, I was 23, had a phone call from him one Monday morning, and Alan Hill, the goalkeeping coach, who I'd spoke with just briefly beforehand, said, I've got Brian on the phone. I was a Coventry player at the time. And he said, I've got Brian on the phone. So this is Brian Clough coming on the phone. So this is the fella that I watched on telly talking about Tomaszewski and all those things. You hang on his every word. He was brilliant. And he comes on the phone. First conversation I've ever had with him is, do you want to play for me, son? I went, yeah, all right. And he slammed the phone down. I thought, geez, my mind went back to the times when I went for the interviews for the army, and I thought, I've done another interview's gone west on me, you know. But it was incredible. I mean, that summer he signed me in a double deal. He brought John Robertson into the club as well, back to the club, and Neil Webb come in, and Brian Rice, and he probably gave me a life education as much as a footballing education.
Did you have a good relationship? Because players always say about the relationship with you.
I don't think Brian did.
Did anybody have a relationship with him? Did he just tell you what to do? And
yeah, in many ways, you know what I mean? After a year...
Never thought you got close to him?
No. In all honesty. Des Walker said to me, you know what, he never liked any of us. We were just functional. I went, you know what, Des, you're absolutely spot on. I couldn't argue with that. No, you always felt, if you weren't at the training ground for any reason, you thought he's looking for another left back. You know, I think that was a good part of... We talk about psychologists in the game nowadays. I think Clough, Shankly, all these people that are good at management are good psychologists as well. And he was brilliant. He kept us all on our toes. The higher you flew, the more he'd put you down. You know what I mean?
All the stories. He kept people.
Yeah,
right, don't they?
exactly.
Well, your story about he knew you were an electrician, didn't he?
Yeah,
you got a kettle to repair or something? Or?
He did. He bought an iron, it was. He bought... this was first negotiations. When I first met him, went to the City Ground. Don Mackay was our manager at Coventry, so he drove me and Ian Butterworth up to do the deal and whatever. And he said, well, you know, what are you looking for, son? I said, well, Coventry are going to pay me 500 quid. If you pay me the same, I'll come here. He said, OK, done. He said, are you an electrician? I said, yeah. He said, would you mend my Barbara's iron if I bought it in? I went, yeah, of course. I said, would you let me advertise in the programme as an exchange? He went, of course. So I advertised in the programme for 2 years. I had a little...
Seriously?
Yeah, business card in the programme at Forest, you know, as an electrician. I used to trade in the afternoon. I've wired Steve Sutton's house. I put lights up for Peter Barnes, Kirk Stevens, John Sillett's stables. He needed
That's
electricity.
Amazing.
So when I was at Coventry, I'd done that, you know. I loved the work, to be honest with you. Because I took a wage cut and then I was living away from home as well with that expense. You had to in many ways. So
what was he like, Stu, as a manager in respect of setting the team up and putting the team out on a Saturday? And what stories have you got about what he did and what he didn't do?
I think his recruitment was good, Tone. I think...
Was that Peter or was it him?
Peter wasn't there when I got there. Yeah. And I'm really sorry that I weren't there with both of them, because I think they worked brilliantly.
Out then? Had they parted?
Yeah, Peter had left in 83, I think. I arrived in 85. So I think he was the calming hand on Brian's shoulder a little bit.
They were better together, weren't they?
100%. The European Cups come when they were together, all those types of things. And from listening to the other pros around the place, you know, they were a brilliant double act, really good. And sometimes you need that, don't you?
I think you'd have to have a calming influence with some of the things he would say.
Yeah.
Surely Peter would be going round and going to say, listen, he don't really mean that. Or I'm not going to say he's going to do that to you, but you couldn't have that tone that he used all the time. I think he'd have killed the players, wouldn't he? Unless there was somebody else.
I think the situation is, without Peter alongside him, he probably didn't have the magnitude of those people around. The coaching staff, Liam O'Kane was brilliant at being that. But he probably wasn't a Peter Taylor. And
I know from having Taff with me for some reason in Evans, and TC with me for the rest of my career, I wouldn't have been the same without them. They were brilliant for me. They assisted me greatly.
Yeah,
so I understand how important assistant it is, but.
I think in management as well, Mick, you've got to identify that as managers and say, what do I need alongside me to supplement my weaknesses in many ways, you know? And they've got to be cute enough to read the room as well, to say it's time for me to step in or it's not time for me to step in. I mean, I was at Forest for 2 years. After the first year, he come down the coach and said, would I captain the team? So I said, yeah. I mean, incredible privilege for me that was, for a captain a team that he managed. At the end of that year of captaining the team, I was 25 years old at the time and got picked to play for England. You know, so you're thinking, well, this is incredible. You know, 3 years ago, I'm an electrician for the council. Yeah. Now I'm getting picked to play for England. And one of the kids come down the dressing room and said, the boss wants to see you. So I went down to see Cloughie and I thought, he's well done, son. You know what I mean? New contract, potentially. He sat me down and went, see you in the England squad. I went, that's right. He said, do you think you're good enough? I said, I'm not sure. He went, I don't, F off. That was the whole conversation. So obviously I thanked him for his kind words, you know, and took his advice.
But just going back, how did he set the team up? Did he do anything?
Sorry, kept it very simple. His recruitment was big, you know, bringing the likes of me in for a couple of $100,000, Roy Keane for 25 grand. He saw something in people that he liked. He liked to keep the game very simple. In many ways, the way he set the team up offered leadership to the group, which I think is missing a little bit. As coaches nowadays in the game and managers, you want to do everything for the players, do the set plays. His advice to us, defending a corner, was stand next to someone you can beat in the air and head it. So you had to get on the pitch and organise it yourself.
Was that a little bit of common sense?
Well, it is.
we had that with Jack Charlton, with Ireland. It wasn't. We didn't set up. It was we marked who we thought we should mark. Yes, it went size by size.
Exactly.
And picked each other up. We didn't concede many either, to be fair.
But that would enhance leadership in you.
It does.
On the pitch. You've got to take responsibility then. And I think
you can't go in at half time and say, nobody told me who to pick up.
Exactly that. And
you've in serious trouble.
It's that balancing act, really, of being the nth degree manager, coach, whatever, and setting your team up and organising your team. We played 4-4-2 in a formation at Forest. He wanted midfield players in Hodgie and Webby to make the box and score. If you shot from anywhere further than 25 yards out, he would take you off. Literally, he'd substitute you straight away. If someone crosses the ball and they score and they don't come over to you to congratulate you for the pass that you've just scored them a goal on, he'd take you off. He took Steve Hodge off in a game once. We were beating Crystal Palace. Hodge's number went up. We come over to the bench, looked around to shake the hand of the person who was coming on. No one was coming on. So Hodgie come off in the dressing room afterwards, and it depends who you ask about why he done it. If you ask Hodgie will say that the boss said to him, he didn't like the Crystal Palace coaching staff and manager, so he took him off to play you with 10 men to put two fingers up to them. If you ask the players, like myself, which you have done, he brought Hodgie off and said to Hodgie after the game, we're better off with 10 than 11. That's why I took you off, son. You know what I mean? But little stunts like that were incredible.
Well, I got a question here about you playing in the 91 FA Cup final against Spurs when Gaza famously did his knee. How did he react? Is he after the game? What's he like?
Everything was exactly the same, to be fair, whether you win or lose. When we went to Wembley, we went to Wembley a fair bit in the late. You know, that Simod Cup final, Mercantile Credit. We won that. He'd put the strongest team out. On the Monday night before we're playing Tottenham in the FA Cup final, bear in mind Forest haven't played in the FA Cup final since 1959. So we got probably the biggest game that we've played in. We've been to two semis against Liverpool, the Hillsborough one and the one after, and come close to getting there. Now we get to the final. On the Monday night, we go to Notts County and play in the groundsman's testimonial. He plays a starting 11 for the FA Cup on the Saturday. So he's got me in it, Roy in it, you know, Des, everyone. We played a full 90 minutes. And you're thinking, Christ, you know, it's like as a player, you've got the FA Cup coming up. I don't want to get injured here, and I'm playing in the groundsman's testimonial on Monday night. Only he would do that. It's incredible. And he kept it simple. When we go to Wembley, there's no parties in flash hotels, nothing like that. We're on the coach, we come back, skipper, end of. And you can guarantee if we won the trophy or won a League Cup or whatever, we're in the next day and he'd run you around the pitch. If we lost the game, he'd probably say, I'll see you next Friday.
And how would you rate him as a manager?
The influence on me, I'd have to rate him as number one, Tone, because I had 8 years with him. I won trophies, I made England debuts, had the opportunity to maybe leave and go to bigger clubs for more money. Yeah. But the influence he had on me, I respect that greatly. Not all days you would come away and hate his guts. Yeah. You know what I mean? For some of the things he did, he said and whatever. Yeah. But I tell you what, when you look back and the influence he had and the character and the personality, the whole package was incredible.
When they were relegating, he resigns. You know, it was sad, wasn't it? It was sad seeing him that way. Yeah. Because she used to him being so, you know, confident about himself. It really took it out of him. 3 years later, though, you return and get the player manager after Frank Clough departs. Yeah. How was that then?
Yeah,
because I think player manager is an impossible task.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how you found it. I mean, I got player manager at Millwall. And I'm saying it really, fortunately, I struggled with injuries. Yeah. And I only ended up playing in one of the last games. I think to be player manager is just...
The only one I can remember who actually did it.
Glenn Hoddle did it with a bit of success.
A little bit, but Johnny Giles at West Brom. Yeah. Johnny Giles did it and did it really well. Yeah. He was about the only one I can think of, Mick, who actually had that. Yeah.
I want to hear Stuart's story first. Yeah. You just crushed it by him, telling me we've only looked into him. How did it go?
Well, I just wanted to put him in his place before he started talking.
Nice. See if Johnny Giles...
We started the first game of the season. We won away at Coventry, and then from that moment on to the 20th of December, when Frank Clough resigned, we didn't win another game. So we were rock bottom of the league, and the phone went on the Friday morning. The next day we're playing Arsenal and we got Man United at home as well a couple of days later. Phone went, Alan Hill said to me, Frank's just resigned and gone to Manchester City. Will you take the team over? We're going through a transition for selling the club. Will you take it over for a month? So I said, well, let me get in the training, have a think about it, blah, blah, blah. So I got in my car, come into training. I said, yeah, I'll take the team.
Did you ring anyone and speak to anyone?
No. No.
You did off your own back?
Yeah. I mean, I was a player at the time. What age would I have been? I was probably about 34 in the dressing room at the time.
You had the respect of the players, though, didn't you?
You think you do until you become the manager and leave them out, Mick. You know what I mean? And
I know that, my very first
life changes and you've got decisions to make, like, do I move out the dressing room and give the players the space? Do I not? How do I play it? And I thought to myself, I'm going to stay in the dressing room, whether they're uncomfortable with me being in there or not. I'm the player manager. So I stayed in the dressing room. And obviously the conversations when I walked through the door subsequently went very quiet about what they were doing rather than me being just their captain. Took the training. We'd been on a disastrous run, so I thought I've got to change things up. So I changed the formation, went to a 3 at the back for the next day against Arsenal, changed the training programme, whatever. But I went home that night on a Friday and I wrote all the players' names down. I thought, I've got to make a change for change's sake, if nothing else.
Well, you can't have it. It just keeps going the same.
Exactly.
You've got to change it. If you change the manager, change the coach, you've got to change the team, change the system, change
They need to see a difference.
You've got to do something, yeah.
So I wrote all the players' names down that I thought in our squad and put them on the floor.
What's it like when you put them down, you look at them and you go, not so sure about that.
Well, it's all I had, mate. You know,
so you've got to get on with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on, sorry.
So 6 o'clock, I've had my tea on a Friday night. We got Arsenal tomorrow. I've not picked the team. Told the players just turn up. We'll pick the team tomorrow. I've got all these names in front of me, and I spent the next 4 hours. I thought I've got to have a cut-off, and that cut-off was Cheers coming on at 10 o'clock. You know,
I still watch it.
Yeah, I like to go to bed at 10:30 after Cheers, so I think I need to have a cut-off at 10. I had 4 hours of moving these players here, there, and everywhere. Right at the end of the 4 hours, I sat back and went, "That's the team for tomorrow." My wife looked over my shoulder and went, "You've dropped Mark Crossley." I went, don't be stupid. I said, he's the only goalie we got. I looked down, I had 11 outfield players, no goalie. After 4 hours, I thought, bloody hell, is this management for me? Next day we beat Arsenal 2-1. Went on a reasonable run.
3 in a row, didn't you?
Well, United come and panned us 4-0 at home. We couldn't handle them, to be fair. They were flying. But it ended up winning Manager of the Month. We won a decent run, won a few games, but we were so far adrift. It took us. So I ended up staying there till I think the March time from December. And then the new ownership, Irving Scholar, and he called me into his office and went, do you think you need some help, maybe? I said, yeah, probably, you know what I mean? He said, well, an older head maybe around the place. I said, yeah, maybe it's a good idea, you know. Did you have anyone in mind? He went, yeah, Dave Bassett's next door. He walked in the room. It was brilliant, you know what I mean? Yeah. So myself and Dave worked together. But at the end
before that, from the start to the finish, what was the difference personally? What difference did you feel from actually carrying the flag?
Yeah, great question.
And leading the club.
Yeah.
To being just a part of it.
The big one was the reaction of the other players towards me. They'll say, we changed a little bit. That's not the case. Their mentality changes to you. You've got close friends in the group and you've got drop players. All of a sudden, when you pick 11, you're going to disappoint another, in those days, maybe another 8. Nowadays, another 20. So that was a big one for me, a really big learning curve. Obviously, you learn quickly. I felt as though I had to play, lead the team, do the toss-up, be the best player on the pitch, come in the dressing room and give a team talk and do all that. I learned quickly because, fortunately for me, Liam O'Kane was a brilliant assistant for me. And he said to me after my first game, he said, when you come in the dressing room, just sit down, let me deal with the early things, and then gives you time to settle down. Great advice from a player, an ex-player and experience. Yeah. You need that around you just to guide you. Otherwise, your head's a jumble when you're trying to give a team talk and change.
I got the job at Millwall, and on the Sunday night, Saturday, we'd been beaten, I think, 5 or 6 at Portsmouth. I hadn't played, I was injured. John Cahoon hadn't played. We were in the pub, we were talking about what we would do, which team we would pick if, we had to pick it because we were starting to struggle. And Bruce Riot was the manager. Anyway, in that week, so I picked my team and I'm in it, he's in it. He picks his team, I'm in his team, he's not in his team, John. I said, how are you picking the team? You're not picking yourself. He said, no, I'm struggling a bit at the minute, I'm injured, my back's a bit sore. So Tuesday morning, I get called to go to see Mr. Burr. Tuesday afternoon, I've got the job. Wednesday, I turn up. Thursday, we do the training. Taft does it. Friday, I'm picking the team. I'm not in it because I'm injured.
Yeah. John
Cahoon's not in it. So he comes to see me straight away. This is how it changed, like that. I'm in the office. John comes to see me, says, mate, what's the story? We're in the pub on Sunday night and you pick the team and I said, no, but I'm injured. I can't play. He said, yeah, but you picked me. I said, yeah, but you told me your back was sore and you wouldn't pick yourself. So if you're not picking yourself, I'm not picking you for Saturday's game.
It's a fair point, isn't it?
And he still, to this day, if I ever see him, he denies that, but that is exactly the truth.
What about the press?
At times, I delegated because I wasn't too fussed about whether I'd done the press or whether I didn't do the press.
Did you play every week, Stuart? Did you play
yes. Yes. Yeah. So I sort of delegated bits and pieces I could. So I'd send assistant in every now and then. And more importantly, if we lost, I would go in. If we won, I'd send an assistant in. So I would work it like that. I've always been one to, whenever I've been in management, if ever there's bad news, stay level. You've got to be that person.
Faced up to your adversities, haven't you?
Well, exactly. You can't, you can't not, to be honest with you.
Is there anything else that stands out?
That was a big one for me. The relationship with the players changes, accept it's going to change. Don't think you can be a player one day and be a player manager the next and the relationship not change in any way, shape or form. That is definite. Delegation, I picked up because I had good people around me that were prepared to say, hey, just sit down, let me do it, and sometimes
you need that.
It's not easy to do to a manager. And I've taken that with me probably when I worked with Moisey at West Ham and he asked me to come and join him a few years ago to work as his assistant. And I loved the job because when you've done management, you know exactly what he needs from me as an assistant and what the group need, and you apportion yourself accordingly. And it's like, you said earlier about Dave could deliver something that sounds a little bit harsh, and then you've got to see the faces in the dressing room and then pick them off. What he meant by that was this. You know what I mean?
Oh, TC Terry Connor was great.
Kempy used
smoothing
to,
it.
Kempy used to. He would never interfere with me when I was talking or if I was in the dressing room.
No, you can't do that.
He'd always say, let's go and have a beer that night. And we'd go and have a beer. And then he'd go, I think you're a little bit out of order with this. And I think that one needs a cuddle or he should. And I wouldn't do this and I wouldn't do that. And go steady with him. Yeah. We've worked him too hard now. Let's just take the steam. And he was good. He's seen things I didn't see.
Yeah.
And in a positive way as well.
I think nowadays, if I took a management job tomorrow, I would get people in to critique me on a daily basis. I'd have someone there. Yeah. I mean, I've invited someone from outside, a fella called Tony Smith from rugby league as a Warrington coach. I respect him greatly on his opinion on things and stuff like that. Very good connections. I've invited him into the under-21s when I managed there. I've invited him into West Ham for a few days and just say, just go around all departments and give us your eyes and ears and feed straight back to me. And he was brilliant.
It's a great thing to do. It's a difficult thing to do, isn't it? Especially if
I think
if somebody's not criticising, but sometimes
I think the way it is now,
it's a great thing to do.
I think the way it is now,
it's a great thing.
Managers are no longer managers.
Yeah,
coach. All the coaches now who are in charge of the team, they're all coaches, and they're all good on the training ground. With the number of people we've got now between so-called managers or coaches and the owners.
Yeah.
If I'm a young coach and I'm going somewhere to work, I'm thinking I've got to get an experienced one in who will come in with me and go out with me, but he'll look after what's happening above me. Yeah. So he'll help me manage above.
Yeah.
I'll get on with the players. I'll get on with the team. Obviously, he can advise a little bit. But the biggest problem now, in my view, is that gap between the coach and the owner.
Yeah.
You've got a chief executive, you've got a director of football, you've got the specialist on sports science, you've got this going on, you've got so many people now involved that your concentration really should be one.
We discussed
important.
on the last one, though, about there's management and there's coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So coaches come in and we're saying some have come in and they've gone at 2:00 in the afternoon, they've coached the team.
Yeah.
Managers stayed there and managed the club, managed above.
That's 24 hours.
It's not no more.
Yeah. Where I got really fortunate when I retired at the age of 40 at Manchester City and Kevin was my manager. That young. I managed to hang on. I had a feeling that the game owed me 5 years from being an electrician at the start, so I was too pig-headed to retire, including a couple of broken shin bones on that journey as well, at the age of 37. I was really fortunate that I went straight onto the coaching start. I said to Kevin at the time when I was about to retire, we just won the championship and going into the Premier League. And I said, look, I'm going to retire. It's the right time for me. He said, fine. I said, and I want to go into management. So he said, why don't you stay on the coaching staff and apply for jobs
while you're there?
Brilliant advice and unselfish advice from him.
That was lovely. That was great of him.
He had Arthur Cox alongside him, and those two were brilliant schoolmasters for me, how you treat players, how you conduct yourself as a manager.
Arthur Cox was fabulous.
None of this drinking on a Friday night, none of that. Kevin, they were brilliant for me. And I tell you, the one thing as well that he done for me that aspiring managers never get the opportunity in the main to do, he took me into board meetings at Manchester City. He said, come with me into board meetings and taught me some brilliant lessons, how we handled the board, the interaction between board and manager, all of those. You never see that as a manager.
It's brilliant to hear this about Kevin, though, because we never heard that when he was a manager. I haven't heard it since about how he dealt with you and how he dealt with the board and all that. The things that you ever see about him is when Liverpool beat Newcastle. It always seems to be a downward. Yeah,
a negative on him.
A negative on him. When all that listening to you sounds brilliant as a manager. He's a great guy.
I'm surprised that he's not revered more than he actually is for what he done for English football and everything that went with it. I mean, my experience with him was absolutely incredible. I've had a couple of experiences on the journey. I mean, the rant that he was supposed to have done, Kevin, was all about him bringing a team to my testimonial. That's what the rant was. If you remember, when Newcastle were clear, they agreed to bring a team to Nottingham Forest at the end of the season, and we were playing Newcastle with about 2-3 games to go. So Alex threw it out there, you know what I mean? And the rant was partly to do with that. So he bought the strongest possible team, having eroded a 12 thing in 1996. And then in 97 I was retired from international football, and I had a phone call. I was a West Ham player. And I thought he was going to sound me out about Rio or one of the starlets at West Ham. And he said, would you come back in the international fold? So I'd had a couple of good connections with him. And then I was 39 and just about to retire at West Ham. And the phone went, and it was Kevin. He said, I've just took the Man City job. Will you be my first signing? Come in as captain. I said, I want to go into coaching. He said, but you can be a coach as well then. So
brilliant.
I walked through the door, and I can't speak highly enough of the influence of him and Arthur, of how you conduct yourself as a manager, how good they were at their job, the enthusiasm, the pair of them. Arthur was the old head sitting above Kevin. And I think all managers, especially young managers, probably nowadays,
coaches,
that think they know all the answers, get people like yourselves there. You should be mentoring young managers nowadays.
I think there is a great void in experienced people not going in, because a lot of these managers now are coming out of academies and getting their first jobs. And it's so different from managing at academy level to managing at first team level.
Of course it is.
I've got 2 examples here that I think football's missed a trick with. I was fortunate enough to work for Bobby Robson for 2.5 years.
I was just going to ask that. Well, that was my next question, actually, with England.
Yeah. And Bobby left the FA in 1990 after the World Cup that we were at.
Yeah.
The FA should have said, Bobby, we want you to be head of teams and stay in the organisation. They should have done exactly the same with Gareth Southgate as well, in my eyes. 2 individuals who were totally unselfish individuals that want the best for the game. You've got to keep individuals like that in the game instead of saying, thank you for what you've done, off you go. And there's a void. You've lost so much brains in the organisation.
Stuart, what you're saying is just common sense. The experience, what they've gained, they've been professional, top professional players, managers, coaches. Who's deciding this? It's amateur people who've never been in a game, people who've never played football, never coached, never been involved in it, that side. Yeah. So they don't understand. And you try and tell them, and they take I think they take no notice of it.
I just think sometimes in football we've missed a trick. If you think that the likes of Bobby and Gareth wouldn't be brilliant at mentoring all the coaches from under 15 up to under 21 at international level, all the captains of those teams.
Well, it should be offered. It's whether they want to do it, isn't it?
Of course it is.
They might want to go to another club.
They would want to do it, Mick. They would. If you're giving, listen, years and years ago, I'm not sure whether you ever went there. Did you ever go to Lillyshaw, Stu?
Yes,
the coaching
A licence.
Yeah, I did.
No, not your A licence. We used to have a coaching seminar every year at Lillyshaw. Bobby was there, and then you had Don Howe, Dave Sexton, Terry Venables, George. Everybody had turned up. It was the best run football programme, I think, in world football. They brought them in from Italy. They brought them in from everywhere to do coaching. We had seminars. It was just absolutely fantastic. And I think Bobby, being a top coach and a top person, got the best people, the best coaches in England. They're all, experienced. Dave Sexton, Don Howe, just absolutely fun. To sit there and I was like in my mid-20s, late 20s, go in and watching these people work. Yeah. The knowledge that they passed on to you was just, nobody else could do. You couldn't get it anywhere else. Yeah. And for some reason, we've lost that, Mick, as well. I don't know why, but we've lost it. It's gone. And the young coaches don't have that luck that we had when we were younger.
For me, it's down to young coaches and young managers reaching out to old heads and say, can I have a coffee with you? Would you mind coming in without any commitment, come into the environment I work in and give me some feedback on how I'm working? Have a coffee. Do you bounce off each other? Do you like the individual? You'll get a sense of whether you like that individual, about how he conducts himself before you meet him.
So going back to, we're on the England, with Bobby and all that and everything that went through, and I mean that he was incredible. And then we got after that, Graham. I mean, how many caps did you get?
78.
78. And who was Bobby Robson, he gets revered everywhere he goes. I mean, was he tactically brilliant? Was he a good manager? Was he must have been good at all those things. But as a player, when you're playing for him, what do you think about him? Was he good? Put your arm round it? Did you get the best out of you? Who are the England managers that really, floated your boat for a better?
At the five that I probably had from a coaching aspect, I would have said Venables and Hoddle taught me as much as anybody.
Well, yeah.
From a tactical point of view. Bobby, fantastic, almost a father figure. Anyone who gives you your first England cap, or your first debut in the league, whatever it may be, you've got an affection to them. Bobby was the enthusiasm that he offered on a daily basis. You looked at him and thought, my God, he just loves football, loves coaching. And alongside him, he had Don Howe, who was an incredible coach in himself.
Dave Sexton as well.
Dave was my first. I played with Terry Connor. We were overage under 21 players, and we played at Peterborough for Dave Sexton in the under 20. I was 25 at the time and played in the under 21s.
That's stretching it a bit.
I'd still play tomorrow for a cap, if truth be known.
Yeah, you and me both. Yeah.
Exactly. And listen, it was just brilliant to be rubbing shoulders with that. And on top of that, another layer of that, Brian Robson for me. He carried England in the 80s. And people say to me, what trait does a good leader need? And I always say unselfishness.
Yeah.
And I looked at Brian and I thought, he's in it for the team. He's not in it for himself. He's in it for the team. He runs the furthest. He scores the most goals. He heads it the most. He does everything. Tackles the most. But he's in it for the rest of us. You know what I mean? And when Brian Robson says to me, when I go tight on him and he spins it round the corner, if it goes to your man, he gets turned, we got a problem. You can imagine I'm in the shorts of the winger at this stage, that ain't going to happen. Don't worry about that.
So who did the coaching for England?
Don done a lot of it. Don and Bobby, though, but Don was, especially with the defenders, Don had a real affection with us defenders, I had Tony Adams, Big Butch as well. Yeah. What an influence, as a central defender.
When you've got a player like Brian, as you said, on the pitch, and they're almost managers on the pitch, aren't they, those type of players?
Yeah.
Everything that's been said during the coaching, during the meetings, he takes it on there and he's an example. I mean, he did well. I'm surprised he just didn't last longer in the game. I don't know why.
To be fair, he was West Brom, had a good time. Middlesbrough were fantastic when he was there.
That's what I'm saying. He had
players.
Success.
Yeah.
He seemed to drift out of it.
Yeah.
This podcast has been made possible by the team at BOYLE Sports.
Right, Tony, now it's time for us to make some predictions for the weekend. 4 results to be picked by me and 4 results to be picked by you.
I think we're drawing at the moment, Mick, ain't we, from last week?
Yes, that's the big reveal. 2-2. Keeping it. We must have been sat back, Tony, you and I, doing a bit negative, mate, not going for the win. You know what I mean? Come on then, let's crack on. Let's get on with our predictions.
Well,
what's yours?
My bankers this week. I'm going for Fulham against Leeds, Palace to beat Sunderland, Newcastle to beat Wolves, and Arsenal to beat Forest. Reasons: Leeds and Sunderland, obviously newly promoted. I think it's always very, very difficult early on to go away in the Premiership and get results. Fulham are desperate for a result. I think they'll be really up for that game. Palace have started fantastically well. I think they'll have too much for Sunderland. I think Newcastle will be relieved that all the nonsense is over with all the transfers coming in and coming out. Wolves haven't had a great start. I expect it to be a tighter game than most people think it'll be, but I'm still going for Newcastle. And the Arsenal-Forest game, I think Forest have had stuff going on again behind the scenes that I think has been a little bit disruptive. And Arsenal have to win this game. They got beat to Liverpool last week, which was a disappointment for them. I see them coming out firing all guns.
The teams that went up, I I don't really like backing against Sunderland and against Wolves who are at the bottom of the league. I'm thinking, when I'm looking at the fixtures, I'm thinking, this would be great. We might get some great views on this podcast. I'm getting dogs abuse in Sunderland and in Wolves if I go against them. So I went somewhat different.
Well, I've done it on purpose, Mick.
I noticed you didn't get Stoke to get beat, did you? Arsenal, definitely. I thought Arsenal to beat Forest for the same reasons as you, Tom. Forest are having some problems. And I tell you what, when it looks like the manager's unhappy and the chairman's getting involved, the owner's getting involved, I don't think it does the club any good at all. And we've both been there, Tony, that, if you're not happy, you can't, it's hard to keep it in, innit? You get asked at press conferences and things, and it seeps out of you, the unhappiness and the way you're feeling. So I'm going for Arsenal because I don't think they've yet really stepped up to it. But, based on the last 2-3 seasons of them, I think they'll get back to it pretty quick.
Yes.
Championship, West Brom to beat Derby. They've started really well. Ryan Mason seems to have got West Brom going.
Yeah.
They're one of the teams that seems to go up and then come back down, but when they're in the Championship, they seem to thrive. Derby have really struggled.
With that one, Mick, I think I know John very well, the manager, and I think they've had a real problem with injuries at the beginning, and they're just getting players back, and they had a great result at Ipswich. It could have been even better if the referee hadn't played until Ipswich scored. So it was a real disappointment. They never got 3 points there. Yeah. So I think you'll be, and it's a local derby, Mick. You know what it's like, local derbies.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I'm not going to say Wolves are going to get a beat, and I'm now saying West Brom are going to win. It's probably just as bad. Any Wolves fans listening to me, they're getting dogs abuse. Anyway, I'm playing against you again, and we're 2-2 at the minute. Swindon to beat Harrogate. Ollie's got them going. Yeah. I can't go through all the players at Swindon because I don't know them, but I know Ollie, and you do, of course, like the back of your hand.
Yeah.
So he's got a team going that was struggling. And I saw it when he went to a team that was most unfancied at Blackpool, and we were in the same league, the Championship, trying to get promoted. And I tell you what, he has got something. His personality, it gets the best out of his players. He gets the best out of the clubs, best out of the fans. And I can't see him losing at home to Harrogate, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Mick, he's not a conventional manager, is he? He's a one-off.
He is a one-off. Yeah.
They come around not very often, and Ollie is different.
Yeah, we discussed last week, didn't we, about him getting the ghosts exercised out of the club when he went in. Nobody even looked about his results on how they played. They were all talking about. He's brilliant, and I love him. And then I don't have to talk too much about this. I'm going Barnsley to beat Reading. That's because I'm from Barnsley. I support Barnsley, and I hope they get beat. But Reading are fourth bottom. I think looking at them, Barnsley have done great. Conor Hourihane has done what a great job he's done. New into management. He was a coach or assistant with prior to that, but he's had a great start.
Well, I've actually written down teams outside the top league, and I went Crewe to beat Barnet, Swindon to beat Harrogate, Barnsley to beat Reading, and Bromley to win at Oldham.
Yeah, I lived in Bromley. I've just moved out to Chislehurst. I've only moved 500 yards, but I'm in a different town. So Bromley's still close to my heart. I know, they've got promoted. They did really well. They stayed in the league last year. And they're going brilliantly.
Yes, yeah.
Right, whether you're going with me or Tony, don't forget, any fourfold on BOYLE Sports gets a 5% ACCA boost. 18 plus, T's and C's apply. Head to boylesports.com or download the app and find out more.
Brian Robson, obviously, I mentioned earlier, incredible. As a leader of men, Terry Butcher, I got in that team. Terry tells a story about me. In our first game, we played Brazil at Wembley, 100,000 people, your first game for England. And you're thinking, geez, and you're lining up in the tunnel.
Come on, tell me, were you slightly nervous?
There was a hint of nervousness running down my leg at the time, I must say. And you're in this queue that's got Shilton, Robson, Butcher, Lineker, Beardsley.
He didn't have imposter syndrome, Stu, did he? Surely.
And I thought to myself, you know what? In this tunnel of 22 players, there's only one electrician. It's exactly what I was thinking.
So if the lights go out,
I'm your man, and they're in the dark. But so you go out and you don't want to let yourself down, and all those types of things, and you're on a football pitch, and Big Butch, like I said to Big Butch at the time, I went, I'm going to go and get tight in here. Make sure you cover me. And I didn't mean it to come across in an arrogant way. It was just, this is what happens. And he said, he recounts to me afterwards, I didn't even remember I said it. He said, I'll tell you what, he said, I remember your debut. He said, you turned round to me and went, effing hell, Butcher, make sure you give me some cover. I'm going that way. And he remembers it.
I bet he loved it, didn't he?
Oh, he says, you'll do for me, son. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to aspire to be as good as him as well. And that influence of him and what it meant. Certain role models you try to mirror yourself on, whether it be management, coaching, or players you play alongside, and you think, I want to be as passionate to playing for England as this fella is alongside me.
Yeah.
And not a bad
So
role model.
in respect of finishing playing, how disappointing was that?
I didn't finish and stop. I finished and Kevin said, come on the coaching staff. I had a mentality of, because I'm very humble as an individual, football don't owe me a living. I've got to get out, and I'd started on my coaching badges before that, and I've got to do everything I can for a new profession that started in front of me, and that probably come back to me being an electrician and starting a new profession as a footballer.
So what was it like when you lost your first job then? How did that affect you more than playing?
I was Manchester City manager. The chairman, Kevin, left at the end of the season. We had 9 games to go. The chairman come to me at Man City and said, would you take the team for the remainder of the season? So I said, yeah, brilliant. We went on a brilliant run, finished the season. I got offered the job on a full-time basis. For the next 2 years, the club were running on a shoestring. Literally, they'd sold the club shop.
It is incredible that we talk about Manchester City with that, because I played at Manchester City back in 1987, 83, and it was penniless. They got no money at all. And then we're talking about it now, and you're still saying when Kevin had left and you get the job, you've got no money.
No, my first pre-season, I was fortunate enough. Not only did I go into board meetings, but I used to sit in with a CEO. I went round every strain. I went into the academy to soak up as much knowledge as I could before I went into management. So I was really well prepared.
Ready for it.
And I knew exactly the financial situation at the club. We didn't own the club shop. They sold that. We didn't own the training ground. We were leasing the stadium off the council, the City of Manchester. And so there was no surprises for me because I'd done my homework in many ways. So I knew the best players at the academy that were coming through, Richards, Anua, Michael Johnson, Stephen Ireland, people like that coming through. And so when my time come as manager, I knew exactly what was there. CEO called me in pre-season and said, we've had an offer for Sean Wright-Phillips, 21 million. They'll pay cash at Chelsea. And if we don't sell him, we go bust. I went, let me think. You better sell him. So that was that. So it was brilliant. So
by the way, that wasn't a question. When he came to ask you, he wasn't.
I know exactly.
It wasn't a question.
It was a leading statement. So because I'd done my own work, I knew exactly where we were as a club. 2 years down the line, Shinawatra, the new owners from Thailand, were muted at coming in. And at the end of that season, I rang the CEO, Alistair McIntosh, who's at Fulham now, and I said to Alistair, I'm taking the under-21s this summer to a major tournament. I don't want to be messing around looking at players for Manchester City if I'm going to be sacked. He went, OK, I'll ask them. Put the phone down. 20 minutes later, just want to tell you you've been relieved of your duties. I went, thank you very much, put the phone down, and that was it. And then you go away from that and your egos took a real denting. You're feeling sorry for yourself. And I went to watch the under-19s the following night at Walsall because I was seeing, is there any players to take to the under-21 tournament? And there I am, Tone, reading the programme, head down, feeling sorry for myself. I've been sacked the day before at Man City. I'm thinking everyone as I walk down the road that is pointing at me, whispering behind my back, there he is, that's the bloke that got sacked. And you're humiliated and your egos took a denting. And this fella comes up to me in the bar at Walsall pre-game and boots me. I don't see him coming. He boots me on the calf I look up, and do you know who it is? It's a fella called Tony Pulis. He went, "Get your head up, son. You've never managed till you've had 3 good sackings," and walks off. And I'm sat there and I'm thinking, he's bloody right, you know. And it was brilliant. I remember it like it was yesterday. You probably won't remember it. I remember it because I was in a moment.
Did it help bring you round a bit, that, did it?
100%, Mick. Yeah. Honestly, sometimes you need someone that you respect that just says, "Hey, behave yourself." And from that moment on, I almost said, he's bloody right, you know.
It's interesting, you know, this how you feel, though, when you have had sack. You want to walk out with a bag on your head, don't you? Let somebody drive you out the place.
You can't tell people the humiliation that internally, because, you know, all of us, we're internally driven people. We want to do well. We want to deliver.
It's that pride, isn't it?
The pride. We all feel as though we've done a better job and don't deserve the sack, potentially as well. But listen.
When I got the sack at Wolves, they were waiting at the gate at the press. They're all up there waiting for the picture. I thought, they'll be there till tomorrow morning. Because I ain't going out, they're not having a picture.
That's the spirit.
And if not, I'll have my bike and I'll go up there. Used to go up the railway track. I'll cycle home that way. So I left them out till about 5 o'clock at night. I wasn't gone. Somebody told them I'd gone. Yeah. Oh no, but it's the last picture you want, isn't it? You're driving your car and you're snarling away. And if you wave at them, there's something wrong with doing that. Yeah. If you're looking angry, there's something wrong with doing that. It's really, really tough.
Family-wise.
Listen, I've been fortunate over my whole life, you know what I mean, that I've had really solid people around me, but I probably...
That is a big thing.
I'd probably gravitate to solid people when they gravitate towards me. I've got a streak of loyalty in everything I do, whether that be as a player, signing contract after contract at Forest when bigger clubs are coming in, whether it be loyalty to friends. I've got the same set of school friends now that I've had when I was at primary school. We got punk rock gigs, you know what I mean, and got all the same stuff.
So playing, managing Forest and everything else, and obviously Derby's a local rivalry and it's fierce up there. What's your recollections of one moment that you think, I really enjoyed that?
I had probably 2 moments that in your whole career you can probably name a handful of things that you're really proud of, or you know, you walk out, you're captaining your country, you know, your debut, wherever it may be. I was asked to come back to Forest in 2014 to manage the team, and our first game of the season was against Blackpool and at the City Ground, and to walk out that day, fans bump into me and say, I was in the stadium that day, and I've never heard, and I hadn't either, heard an atmosphere or an ovation like it. It was so humbling. It was incredible. You know, that was one moment, and I'll always go back to that. And we played Derby. Steve McLaren was managing Derby away, and I was under the pump. The results weren't great. You know, I think I was anywhere between 1st and 12th over a 7-month period.
It's not the game you want, is it, that game? Is it?
Not really.
Unless
you
could guarantee to win it, that one. Yeah.
The volatility and all that, I, like you two, love playing in those and love being a part of those atmosphere. We ended up playing there, and it was 1-1 leading into the last few minutes of the game, and one of our own grown players, Benny Osborne, went and hit a shot, and we won 2-1. And with all the pressure of the results and everything going with it, that was an incredible day. And you think, when you look back over your lifetime in football, there's only probably 10 moments that you can actually say, yeah, that one. There was 2 at Forest in my 7 months tenure as a manager there. And people say to me, were you worried about coming back with you've got a reputation as a player, you'd been at the club 12 years, were you worried about that being eroded by coming back as manager? And then when you did come back as manager, you only lasted 7 months. I always say to them this, my ego is irrelevant to the situation I was doing. I'm not fussed about that, how I'm viewed. Other people will judge that. But what I did, I made a lot of people's lives a lot happier at that football club. There was a dysfunctional disconnect between the supporters and the club, a dysfunction between first team and academy. Staff, my first day, I got all the staff in the room. I said, how many of you are season ticket holders? All the hands went up. They are. at every football club in the country. Said, how many of you have been to watch training? Not one hand went up. I said, well, from today, we're going to organise once a week, 12 of you are going to come in and watch training. I'll host breakfast in the morning. You can come in, watch training. I'll explain what we're doing. You work for the club, you're season ticket holders. And they were saying, this is unbelievable. We've never done this before. And I'm thinking, well, why not? I remember playing away.
That's management, though. That's managing.
Yeah. I played away at Wolves. I'm fortunate. I've got a unique relationship with the Forest fans and a lot of the clubs I've represented. Our manager in Nottingham Forest were playing away at Molineux. At 2 o'clock, you're kicking your heels as a manager. You've had a look at the opposition team in. I walked out, I walked round the pitch, and I picked a family that have come in and sat in the stand of Nottingham Forest fans in the away end, and I used to go up there for 20 minutes and sit and chat with them.
Ah, brilliant.
And I used to say to the young kids, what do you think today? Who should be playing? We need to play 2 up front. Are we playing 2 up front? Well, no, I'm just playing Britt up front on his own. Sorry about that, but I'll take your words. And, and the stewards just, what the hell's going on? The managers just walked out and walked up. And little things like that you can do. They're little wins, but they're great wins, and you should be doing that.
I don't think this will be a routine that will catch on. Can I just say that?
No.
The fact of walking around.
But why not? I would ask the question, why not?
When you're doing all right, I think you can get away with anything.
I would do both.
When I was at Stoke, I used to bring the older players who played Gordon Banks.
Yeah.
People like that of that ilk, Terry Conroy, Smithy, all of them came in on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And they watched us train and then had lunch with the lads.
How good's that?
And Gordon used to sit with the goalkeepers for hours and hours. And he'd be saying, why haven't you got a player on the back post? And they'd all go, speak to the manager, it's got nothing to do with us.
See, if you go,
but it was brilliant, Stuart.
If you go and sit with the crowd at 2 o'clock, all the Herberts are in the pub still. These are family people that are sat in the stand that have supported the club, that are lifelong fans, and sometimes they'll give you a nugget. They'll give you a nugget of information. You think, you know what? I'm not that arrogant that I know all the answers.
Yeah, because you coached with Capello, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
How was he? Because did he get a bit of a bad rap in the end? Was he? Because he came in. Unbelievable amount of money apparently paid him and paid to get him in, and he's got such a wonderful record.
Yeah.
Didn't happen though, did it?
No, it's not happened subsequently with a lot of managers before him or after him. Probably Gareth has stood alone on that. I love working with him. I remember we were at Wembley, we come in at half time, where there was myself and Ray Clements on the coaching staff, along with 3 or 4 Italians, and they all started speaking Italian.
God bless him, Ray.
That day, indeed. And from that moment on, I thought, I've got to learn Italian. So straight out, I go and I think I've got to fit in with them, not them fitting in with me in this country. I used to hang on his every word, pick his brains all the time. He was one of these, he would only give you a certain amount of time. It was as though he had a timer on that was set for about 3 minutes. So I used to go in and say, I'm thinking, we played at Aston Villa, the under-21s against Wales, and this happened and that happened. He went, whenever you play against a team that play 2 forwards and 1 in the hole, you always play 2 centre-halves and 2 holders, 4 against 3, all the time. Okay! And every time he went, okay, you knew you had to do one, but quite stern with the players. He called players by their surname, and it was one of those sometimes in that England dressing room, Ferdinand or Terry.
I have to say, that is, I think...
An Italian way.
It's an Italian way, though.
I know, but it's completely wrong. So you've just said you wanted to fit in with him and his staff.
Yes.
I think if you're coming to England, he's got to understand that shouting Ferdinand and all that, it don't work.
Yeah.
That's not the way.
No, not at international levels. You've only got them for a small period.
I think even at any level, they're like...
Did you tell him that, Stu?
Well,
Stuart, I remember telling a teacher, my dad said it to me, because somebody called him McCarthy once, and a teacher said to me, hey, McCarthy, and my dad had said, if anybody says that to you, say, I've got a handle to my name, use it.
Yeah.
And I said it to the teacher. I thought she was going to batter me at the time. But I tell you what, he was so much better with me after I'd said it to him. I was about 15, McCarthy, and I hated it. And I think that it's not a great approach with players.
No.
You're not going to get the best out of them.
I think there's, because I had 2-3 times a week an Italian teacher that taught me about the language, but also the culture as well, and the hierarchy. In this country, they explained it this way. There's a pyramid, but the pyramid's very shallow. So if you're the boss at the top of the pyramid, the distance between you and the shop floor is quite low. So they feel as though they can talk to you as a... In Italy, the pyramid is quite steep. So if you're Capello on top of the pyramid, you have to speak to the layers before you get to the... And with that can come a little bit of sternness. Well, maybe
I've watched
it isn't
Italian coaches coach under 21s right through. And I tell you what, they are so aggressive with their coaching. And I mean aggressive with the players.
Stuart, it's been fascinating, fabulous, enlightening, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the chat with you. It's been great. Thanks for coming in, Tom.
You've missed a few of those stories I read in that autobiography when I was on holiday.
Sorry about that, mate. But listen, we only had an hour or two, let's say. But listen, it's been a pleasure for me to come and be part of this today. In all honesty, I come because it's you two. So
well, we appreciate that.
Cheers,
you're our first. So thanks very much, Stuart. Brilliant.
Pleasure.
Brilliant.
If you've enjoyed that, don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star review of the Managers. And we'll see you next week.